The best survival advice I ever received didn't come from a police officer. It came from a customer who bought the same pack of cigarettes every morning. He looked at me one day and said, "If you ever get tired during your night shift, lock the doors and go to sleep." After he told me why, I never questioned him again. I've worked the midnight shift at gas stations for years. Different towns, different neighborhoods. Some were quiet enough that the biggest problem was someone trying to pay with expired coupons. Others, well, let's just say I learned very quickly why convenience stores install so many security cameras. I'm only 5'2", and for most of those years I worked either alone or with the same co-worker on alternating shifts. We both looked younger than we actually were, so our regular customers tended to be a little protective. Truck drivers would check in before leaving. Taxi drivers would sit outside for a few extra minutes if they thought someone looked suspicious. Even the highway patrol officers made a habit of stopping in for coffee several times a night. Knowing they were nearby made me feel safer. But safety is a funny thing. Sometimes you don't realize how fragile it is until someone who's lived through the worst tells you otherwise. One of my regulars was an older man who came in every weekday at exactly 4:40 in the morning. Never early, never late. He drove an old silver station wagon and always wore the same faded work jacket. He'd walk in, ask for the same cigarettes, pay in cash, thank me quietly, and leave. For months, that was the extent of our conversations. He wasn't rude, just distant, like someone carrying around memories he didn't want to revisit. Working nights gives you a lot of time to observe people, and I always wondered what had made him so serious. One morning, business was unusually slow. I knew he was due any minute, so I grabbed his cigarettes before he walked through the door and scanned them ahead of time. When the automatic doors opened, he stopped in his tracks. He looked at the pack already waiting on the counter, then back at me. For the first time since I'd known him, he smiled. It wasn't much, just enough to completely change his face. "You remembered," he said. I laughed. "You've bought the same thing every day for almost a year. It would have been embarrassing if I forgot." He nodded, still smiling. Then almost out of nowhere, he asked, "Do you ever get scared working nights?" The question caught me off guard. "Sometimes," I admitted. "But we've got cameras, panic buttons, and if something feels wrong, I can lock the doors. The police station isn't far away either." He glanced toward the empty parking lot before looking back at me. "Police are helpful," he said quietly. "But sometimes, they arrive after everything is over." The way he said it made me pause. He wasn't trying to scare me. He was remembering something. "I used to work nights too," he continued. "This was many years ago, not long after my family moved here from Eastern Europe." He explained that money had been tight back then. He worked every shift he could get while his wife stayed home with their young son. Most weeks, he barely slept. I'd finish one job, go home for breakfast with my family, sleep a few hours, then go back to work. He gave a tired smile. I kept telling myself things would get easier. Then his expression changed. They didn't. One winter night, he'd already been awake for almost 20 hours before starting another overnight shift at a gas station on the edge of a small town. He tried everything to stay awake. Coffee, cold water, walking laps around the store. Nothing worked. By 3 in the morning, he couldn't keep his eyes open anymore. "I sat behind the counter," he said, "just for 5 minutes." He rested his head against the wall and fell asleep. He woke to someone violently shaking his shoulders. His manager. The store phone had been ringing non-stop for what felt like forever. At first, he thought he'd been fired. Instead, his manager dragged him outside. "I thought the building was on fire," he said. "But when I looked, the shelves where they stored motor oil were completely empty. Every case, every bottle, gone. The thieves had cleaned out the entire forecourt while he slept. I couldn't believe it." "They never woke you?" He slowly shook his head. "No. They knew I was asleep. They simply took what they wanted and left." I let out a breath. "So, you got lucky." The smile disappeared from his face. "No," he said quietly. I only thought I did. He stared through the front windows as if he was looking at something decades in the past. They drove to another station less than 15 minutes away. He swallowed hard. And that's where everything changed. They drove to another station less than 15 minutes away. He didn't say anything for several seconds. The silence inside the store suddenly felt heavier than before. I found myself leaning against the counter, completely forgetting about the coffee machine beeping behind me. He finally looked back at me. The clerk there was awake. His voice was calm, too calm. He was young, maybe 25, newly married. He tried to stop them. That was all he said at first. I already knew the rest wasn't going to end well. According to him, the thieves walked into the second station pretending to buy cigarettes. When the clerk opened the register, one of them climbed over the counter. The other locked the entrance. The clerk fought back. He grabbed a metal flashlight from beneath the counter and swung it at one of them. For a moment, he actually had the upper hand. Then another man came up behind him. The old customer slowly shook his head. They stabbed him, more than once. They left him behind the counter and disappeared before anyone arrived. The station didn't have cameras. The highway was almost empty that night. By the time another customer found him, it was too late. I couldn't stop thinking about him, the old man continued. Everyone kept telling me how lucky I was. My wife said God had protected me. My friends said I had survived. But that's not how it felt. He looked down at the pack of cigarettes still resting on the counter. I kept asking myself the same question. If I hadn't fallen asleep, would they have stopped at my station instead? Maybe they would have robbed him. Maybe they would have killed him. Or maybe the second clerk would have gone home to his wife that morning. There was no answer, he said. Only guilt. I didn't know what to say. There are moments when words just feel meaningless. I'm sorry, I finally whispered. He gave me a tired smile. It wasn't your burden. But after that night, I stopped believing bravery always saves people. Sometimes, walking away is the brave decision. He paid for his cigarettes but didn't leave. Instead, he glanced around the empty store. You know what worries me? I looked around too. What? You work alone? I laughed nervously. Only until sunrise. He didn't smile. People who come in during daylight usually want fuel. People who come in after 3 in the morning. He paused. Sometimes they want something else. Almost as if the conversation had summoned it. The automatic doors slid open. A man I'd never seen before stepped inside. He didn't look at the drinks, didn't walk toward the shelves. He just stood there, looking around. His eyes stopped on me, then drifted toward the security cameras, then toward the office door. Every movement felt deliberate. The old customer noticed it too. Without turning his head, he quietly asked, "Do you know him?" I shook my head. The stranger walked halfway into the store, stopped, then turned around and walked straight back outside. He bought nothing, said nothing. He simply left. Neither of us moved until his car disappeared onto the highway. The old man sighed. Always trust the feeling you get before your mind catches up. Then he picked up his cigarettes. As he reached the door, he turned back one last time. If you're ever too tired to stay awake, he pointed toward the front entrance. Lock those doors and sleep. It might save your life. Then he was gone. For weeks, I couldn't stop thinking about what he'd told me. Not because of the robbery, not even because of the murder. It was the guilt he carried. 30 years later, it was still written across his face. Eventually, life returned to normal. Customers came and went. Night shifts blurred together. His story slowly drifted into the back of my mind. Until one rainy Thursday. It was just after 3 in the morning. The rain was coming down so hard I could barely see the fuel pumps outside. I hadn't had a customer in almost an hour. I was exhausted. No matter how much coffee I drank, I couldn't stay focused. Then, for no reason I could explain, I remembered his words. If you're ever too tired, I looked outside. The parking lot was empty. The highway was silent. Everything looked normal. Yet something didn't feel right, not dangerous, just wrong. For the first time in years, I did something I'd never done before. I locked the front doors, turned off the automatic entrance, set an alarm on my phone for 15 minutes. Then I sat in the office chair and closed my eyes. I don't think I ever fully fell asleep. It felt more like drifting in and out. When the alarm sounded, I walked back toward the front counter. That's when I noticed the muddy footprints. Several sets, right outside the entrance, fresh, leading directly to the glass doors. My stomach dropped. The police reviewed the security footage later that day. At 3:11 a.m., a dark SUV pulled into the station. 4 men got out. They walked straight to the entrance. One repeatedly pulled on the locked doors. Another covered his face and looked through the windows. They waited, looked around, spoke to each other, then got back into the SUV and drove away. No attempt to buy fuel, no explanation, just gone. The officer reviewing the footage looked at me afterward. "You made the right decision locking up." I nodded, but I wasn't thinking about the footage. I was thinking about an old man who had figured that out decades earlier. I never saw him again. One of the truck drivers eventually told me he'd retired and moved closer to his grandchildren. I hope that's true. I hope he finally found some peace. Because every time I start a midnight shift somewhere new, I still hear his voice, not warning me about thieves or robberies or murder. Just one simple sentence. If your instincts tell you something isn't right, don't worry about looking foolish. Lock the doors. Someone else's opinion can wait until morning. Your life can't. Have you ever experienced something you still can't explain? Leave your story in the comments below. I read every one of them, and your experience might be featured in a future episode of the Dark Chronicles. If you enjoyed tonight's story, subscribe for more true horror every week. See you in the dark.